Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. This is Maro and today I have a Devonshire replay. So obviously the British cruise line has been out for a while now, so it's not necessarily a timely video, but it's better late than never, I say. So in any case, um, HMS Devonshire is a British Tier 6 heavy cruiser. The heavy cruisers were added to the game back in January 2020. At the time, I think I was just either working on something else or I was taking a short break from the game and kind of really missed the event. And since then, from what I've heard, it seems that the community out there wasn't really, didn't necessarily warm up very much to the British cruisers. That being said, I did see um, Goliath, which is the tier 10 cruiser in the recent COTS tournament here and there. And I was surprised to see them, but it seems that, it does have a role to play. So at the time when the heavy cruiser line was added, according to Wargaming, the ships were meant to cause significant damage per salvo. Now, in case of Devonshire, I'm not necessarily sure that's really the case. Devonshire does have 8 each guns, but it has 8 of them in 4 gun turrets. And in comparison to some other heavies out there, it's not necessarily the heaviest salvo, and the DPM is just kind of okay on it. Um, Another distinction that the ships were meant to bring to the game was to have HE, unlike the British light cruisers. And the British battleships are famous for their HE, so that was a kind of a good change. They also have the British torpedo characteristics where you can either launch a spread or individually. So that's a good thing to have. Durable armor in the central part of the decks. Now, I guess was meant to really kind of add to their survivability and make them tougher out there. And in case of Devonshire, it does have a 27 millimeter deck armor. That's the central part just under the superstructure, which is somewhat unique in comparison to other ships in the game. I don't think others at this tier have 27, and it has 25 millimeter armor plating. But I'm not sure how much that's adding to its toughness and survivability. And they are also meant to have efficient repair damage, 50% of sit damage, but that only kicks in at tier 9 and 10, I think. So tier 7 does have a repair damage, but it's just a regular repair damage that fixes 33% of sit damage. And it does have a heal, which is pretty unique for this tier, and it does add to its survivability. I think at higher tier, starting at tier 8, it adds 2% per second versus I think the standard is 0.5 or 0.66. So certainly a big boost. Now, I also took a look at the maple syrup World of Warships stats just to see, how popular is this ship, how often do people play it, and I looked at the latest quarter ending September 30th only for North America, and according to the site, which is not really comprehensive, but hopefully offers directionally kind of the right sense. Devonshire is around just under 10,000 players, 73,000 games. Now at tier 6 you have around 16 cruisers, and this is not counting all different variations. Actually, that doesn't kick in until tier 7. So 16 cruisers, and in terms of games played, it's kind of in the middle. I mean, apparently the players really like their Nürnbergs, Graf Spes, and Pensacola's, which are hitting 180,000 games versus 73 for Devonshire. So something to keep in mind. In terms of winning percentage, and this is what the players are able to achieve, Devonshire comes in at 6th place, just over 50%. So closer to the top, but nothing like Graf Spee 52.5, Leander 52.6, London 52. So it's in good company, mostly German cruiser, mostly British cruisers and Graf Spee, but still. Damage just under 30,000, which kind of seems to be in line really for this tier of cruisers because the averages range from 25 to, I don't know, 35,000. And that seems to be, a premium Russian ship, Admiral Makarov. So that's not really representative because it's not that many ships. Now, damage. What I wanted to really see is potential damage. How much damage can the ship tank? And given that one of the unique features of this line is ability to absorb damage because of that reinforced deck, because of the heal, because the standard health point pool is pretty high as well at 34,400. And the potential damage came in fourth, 554,000 on average. So you have Graf Spee at 730,000 with a large number of games, so it seems a very tanky ship. And then you have the French premium cruiser, the Grasse, at like 560,000. You have the Italian premium cruiser, Duke d'Aosta, at 580,000 or so. So it does come in, it does benefit from everything it has, and it's able to kind of, they absorb some damage at 554,000. Now, in terms of armor, just to add to that plating armor and the deck armor, the SIT armor belt is 114 millimeter, the bow and stern are 16, which is in line with others. It kind of prevents 203 millimeter caliber overmatching, but the issue is, anything bigger than that, they will slice through. And one of the things is it's a big ship. It's a long ship, and the side plating is pretty high above water. So the Citadel is kind of standard. It's not necessarily too high, but the ship itself does provide opportunity to take in a lot of shells. And when I was playing her, I would feel it. You dodge, you kind of try to stay out of the fire, but occasionally BB shell will end up in you, and you will be citadeled. So caution is recommended at all times. In terms of gunnery, it has, as I mentioned, eight 8-inch guns, but it has only 14k range, and I guess this is one of the characteristics of the line. But 14k, it's very on the short end. A lot of her tiers are able to outgun her distance-wise, and it means that you really need to get closer to your targets. And 14 kilometers, this big of a ship, battleships, it's not a very comfortable position to be in. So it's challenging. It's a 14 sec reload as well, so that does take some time. And as I mentioned, the DPM is nothing to write home about. It's okay, but it's nothing great. Accuracy in line with the tier. Firing angles on the front and back guns, I think you can get it's 34 degrees, so you can get it to the front and back, same angle, which is not bad. I mean, you are outside the overmatching 30 degrees, so you may have to dance a little bit, but it's acceptable. In terms of torps, you get gallant torps. You have a quadruple launcher on either side. They're 8k torps. Solid damage, but I didn't really find myself using them too often. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're the best if you're ambushing a battleship, or even more so if you have a head-on cruiser and the other cruiser doesn't have torps. Then you're in a much better position to take advantage of that. In terms of AA, Again, it's kind of average, nothing exceptional. Now, you do have a choice of consumables. You could get the FAA or Hydro. For the most part, I've been picking Hydro, but with the FAA, you would improve the AA characteristics. And being tier 6, you do have tier 8 carriers, which is always very challenging because I think in this game we have a tier 6 CV, but even then uh, I wasn't I wasn't necessarily able to cope with all the air attacks. I could inflict some damage, but certainly by no means was I protected. So, you look at all of these characteristics, at least for Devonshire at tier 6, and what other cruisers bring to the table, and I enjoyed the British light cruiser line. I know it's only AP, it's smoke, but in terms of the acceleration and the agility and the playstyle and the torps and guns, I thought that was a fun line to play. Now, I didn't really do well in them, but I enjoyed playing them. When it comes to the heavy cruisers, at least to Devonshire, I played whatever it took 10 or 12 games to make it to the next year. And I did all right, but I never really felt like, you know, this was great. I really had a great time. It was okay, but it's I guess the mix of the characteristics and the things that the ship has at this tier to make it somewhat anonymous in a way, maybe nondescript. It's hard to put a hand. You have guns, higher caliber, you have okay penetration, you have HE, you have torps, you have heal, which is important as long as you don't, suffer catastrophic damage or you're not devastated. Um, so it's a mix, but kind of hard to say like, well, this is really it, or this is something unique and something that I'm really good at and better than others, and I want to take advantage of that and have fun. So didn't really have too much of that. Now in this game, I kind of stayed close to my spawn and on the west side of the map. I think there was an occasional push, which kind of pushed me back. Now I had a chance to slowly kind of edge my way back in on this flank. I mean, the game is, we have a point advantage and we have somewhat of a ship advantage, but it seems we have the edge, but it's too early to call. Now here I'm under a serious attack by CV, and I was starting to wonder. I'm like, okay, maybe he's picking on me because I'm here by myself. But then I turn, and who do I see there? I see USS Ranger. Hello. I'm like, okay, well that makes sense, and I'm like, given that I'm this close and there's really nothing that's necessarily threatening me right now, and I'm not being targeted, all I have to do is just try to dodge some of these airplane attacks and try to get my 8 guns on the CV and, do as much damage as I can. So initially I have the HE, but then I switch to AP. I'm like, okay, well, he's broadside enough that I may be able to land some heavy hits, and I'm starting to kind of stack up citadels. You may have seen earlier that I was also engaged with the red team Devonshire, and there I was able to score some sits as well, which just kind of underlines the sit, and if you're broadside basically you're very exposed. And here, you know I'm trying to dodge the airplane attacks, because the game is still close and I can't really afford to be cavalier with my health. And my AA is doing damage. I am shooting down some planes, but certainly nothing to be able to stop or prevent the CV from conducting her attacks on me. And here I also took, I think, a little longer to switch my ammo. I think at this point, really, there was no reason for me to be shooting AP. It should have been HE. But, better late than never again. It applies. And I think in chat also, I think my Mayhem teammate is saying, "Hey mate, time to switch to HE." So glad for the reminder, and I was able to do it. But by this point, I think the CV is pretty much down on her health, so there isn't a lot that's left for her to do except accept my HE gift and die. So with the CV dead, I think now we are 5-3. Our CV is dead as well. However, we're in a much better position than the red team. I am, you know, wide on the flank. It's going to take a while for me to get anywhere. And I think my team is, defending our cap. They're kind of defending their cap. And I really prefer the domination versus the standard mode because, this style of play not necessarily as dynamic. Now it does introduce some change into the gameplay, so I guess that's a positive thing. In any case, while this is going on, I am sailing back to their cap. Now the top speed on this ship is not great. It's 31.3 knots, which really puts her on the slower side. The rudder shift, I think with the rudder shift mod, it's at 6.3 seconds, which is acceptable. But this is a big ship, and it takes a while to turn her. I mean, the turning radius is 710 meters. It's okay stats wise with the other ships in this tier, but it just feels that it's not fast or agile. It's a slow process. You need to have patience. You need to kind of be careful of what you're doing, not to expose yourself and so on. Now the concealment is decent with camo and the captain skill. It brings you to 10.1k, which means that if your DD is maybe 4k ahead of you, you're in a good position to be able to engage the other DDs. The issue, of course, with that is your shells are not that fast. They're around 816, I believe, meters per second. And that's, I mean, it's not like nice like in Russian cruisers where you're like 900, 950. It's doable, but it's just not as great. So you can do some damage to DDs, and I have done on occasion, but it's not as punishing like as Russian cruisers, as I said, or Italian SAP, because they also have the shell speed plus the insane SAP damage. So here I finally closed in on their cap. Edinburgh is facing me, so that's a two-tier differential. I'm nosing it in. I'm trying to really use a mix of my AP and HE on her. And I have a 10-point captain, and it's kind of just a standard skill distribution here, really. So I don't have ability to just quickly switch my AP and HE. And I think earlier I also had a chance to punish this Edinburgh, but I made a mistake of not firing my HE salvo, trying to change to AP, and by that time it was too late. So here, just trying to tank something. My heals are gone, but with AP citadels and HE shells, just being able to whittle it down. I've also activated my hydroids. I'm closing in because I'm thinking, okay, torpedoes may be coming my way. But I know also that my team is winning, so regardless of if I live or I don't, we're gonna win this game. Now, I could have been more aggressive and maybe try to bring my back guns here instead of just relying on my four guns, so which brought my DPM down. But this is again a two-tier higher cruiser, which with a higher reload speed, higher DPM, so there was no reason to push my luck. I mean, as it is here, I have still absorbed some damage. So here are the torps, but I think in terms of time, it's really done, and the game is pretty much over. So Devonshire, playing 10, 12 games was fine. This was probably one of my best games in the ship, and it was, I think, one of the first games in the ship as well. Most of the other games were not as high damage. I picked this one because I ended up top of the table, 2,000 points, and I was the lowest tier, so that probably helped as well. But I almost tanked a million in damage. Kind of shut down 14 planes tier 6, and it was a solid haul. So I think that's it from me. I wish you the best of luck on the high seas. Maro out.